The Twins reportedly say they're for sale again. They were never not for sale, but apparently they mean it again. Conflicting media reports, what to make of them. Stay tuned, grab your wallet, and get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. It's your team. You can't sell it because the poll ads said no. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who wouldn't buy the Twins if you paid me. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who will gladly pay you Tuesday for a baseball team today. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. But can he become a Twins owner? Probably not. You can find out. You can find more of our work at Access Twins and Zone Coverage, by the way, on the podcast this time. The Twins sale is back on 2 days after a Charlie Walters column in the Pioneer Press. So there was no hope of the poll ads ever selling because they just can't. They're just incompetent, and the economy is bad, and no one cares. Reporting the Star Tribune and the Athletic says, no. The sale is still on, and it's going great, too. Whom to believe? Well, Charlie's column also mentioned a police outside of Target Field armed with AR-15s, saying, I hope I never have to use this. What the heck, Charlie?
Yeah, you just dropped that in there like it was no.
And it was like right after. Let's not wait. We'll talk about it in a second. We'll go back to that in a second. Joe Ryan and his quirky little gestures. Is he the new Mark Fidrich? Does anyone even remember who that is? All right, how about Juan Soto? Ever heard of him? Joe Ryan is like one of those guys or both. And we'll look back at the Rays series so far, which continues Wednesday. Really what I want to talk about is like Willie Castro getting lost in left field and maybe never finding his way back. And Cody Clemens finding Roger Clemens' secret hiding spot in center field with a home run. Very strange doing so far. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the Twins maybe being sold again. It is funny timing, Brandon, that on the 25th, whatever day that is, Monday or Tuesday, Sunday, I think it was Sunday, Charlie Walters' column in the Pioneer Press, he doesn't, I mean, it's obvious that he didn't like really dig into it, but he does quote a prospective buyer, I guess. And who that is, I mean, he's not going to say. It's a source. As this doesn't look good. I don't like these financials. I don't like there's a lockout coming. The price is too high. The rent is too high. The sale is not going well. And then, whoa, lo and behold, like 25 hours later, reports in the Athletic and the non-Pioneer Press, the Star Tribune, say, now wait a minute. They've been touring. They've been giving tours to prospective buyers at Target Field, and it's looking very good. Now, some people might quibble a bit with the $1.7 billion asking price, but things are going pretty good with the sale of the Twins. It's not bad at all. What was your first impression of this, Brandon? It seems awfully convenient.
We love the ballpark. We love the poll ads, don't we, people? No, I don't know. It just seems it seems like
what reference is that?
Trump. It feels like a lot of posturing. I don't know. I just I'm letting it go in one ear and out the other, like I do most things. Because until it gets done, I mean, we thought the Toshiba brothers were going to be a big deal, and then now we've seen that the Suns are all messed up, and who knows what they're going to end up, or what the one is going to end up accomplishing trying to buy the White Sox, because Jerry Reinsdorf might be the even worse owner than the Pohlad family. I don't know. I'm not like I'm not talking about choosing sides necessarily, but I think everybody involved has something to gain from a little leak here or a little leak there getting out, as far as, oh yeah, we're not going to get 1.7, but if we push this button, maybe we get 1.5 instead of the 1.3 someone's offering. And there are valid points made across the board. As much as we have people who insist, that baseball ownership groups make money hand over fist, that looming lockout does have to be kind of a factor. And say one thing for the poll ads, they may not be great at timing, and that's why trying to sell the team now, right in the middle of the pandemic on one end and the lockout looming on the other, like it to me just doesn't make sense. And certainly, they've operated as though the Twins are a separate entity from all their other businesses all these years. Oh, we have all this money, but the Twins don't make us this money. Oh, all our other businesses are losing money. We better get rid of the Twins. Like, it's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. For those who didn't get a chance to read Charlie Walters' Pioneer Press column, he does make a few points here. Some of the organization privately speculated a sale could bring at least $1.7 billion. That's what the Orioles fetched last year. Now it's down. Charlie Walters says it's down to like 1.5. The Twins reportedly are also $400 million in debt, borrowing to pay bills. Hey, get in line. Who isn't these days? Still after reviewing the books, another prospective buyer described the prospects for a sale as dismal. So that's a local person's idea. So of what's going on. The major obstacle for the sale of the Twins is cash flow. Oh, we got to pay these players? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Where's that going to come from? I don't know. I don't understand why that has to be the issue with the new buyers. I mean, would you expect the poll ads to pay the players after you bought the team? Give me a break. You're crazy. A major reason for the Twins' recent financial losses is local TV deals. So the TV deal isn't bringing in the money yet.
Yet. And yet is an important word. And Shooter, for those unaware, Charlie Walters' nickname is Shooter, does leave a concession in there that is not going to stay that way, ostensibly, because as they gain footing in, assuming they keep doing what they're doing and gain footing in it, one would assume that the payoff would be better, right?
Yeah, you would think. But then again, balance that with the supposed coming work stoppage. And, it's
right.
like, well, on the one hand, we're probably going to make more money in the future from the TV deal. On the other hand, maybe there won't be baseball for a while because some owners still want a salary cap or whatever the reason would be to force a work stoppage. But here's my favorite part of the Charlie Walters column, though. The end of the it's one of those ... that's how he does his columns, right? Where with bullet points and whatever.
Is it a don't print that, or is it before the don't print that? Because the last section is don't print that. Always.
It's not that. It's just it. If you know how to read a Charlie Walters column, it's one thing, but so he mentions all these little bullet points things. He mentions New York-based Allen & Company, hired by the Twins to explore a sale, also is exploring investment deals for the Blazers and the Sun and the Liberty. And then the next line, which is a new arrow, stationed just outside Target Field during Twins games are police armed with AR-15 rifles. Said one, I hope I never have to use it. So I don't know why he put that in there or who's saying it or what the context is. Is this a Minneapolis downtown is dangerous context? Does this have something to do with the sale? He's like, if these buyers think they're going to get away without buying the team, we've got guns outside pointed at him saying otherwise. Is that what he's saying? That if you don't buy the Twins, you're going to get a belly full of lead?
I think it's fueling the narrative that it's not safe downtown Minneapolis, and everyone's entrenched in what they feel, no matter what. I mean, you're not going to tell people who are convinced it's a war zone down there that it's not. You're not going to convince people who say, I can walk down Main Street at 3 a.m. and not be concerned. You're never going to convince people one way or the other. So it just amounts to kind of a funny throwaway. Like, it's put in there as a throwaway, and like it's the furthest thing from that.
I wish it had more to do with the sale and some sort of like a POLAD arms race, strong arm tactic.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to train our guns at you if you don't buy our baseball team. But, well, all right, we're going to talk more about this sale potentially after our first break, which is coming up now on Locked On Twins, the podcast known as.
Well, if you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went, maybe you own the Minnesota Twins. But between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. That's your personal CFO on your phone, giving you the full visibility and control that you desire over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, tracking all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop managing your money and start building wealth. It gives you surprising insights like how much money are you spending on gas? How much money are you spending on food delivery? How much money are you spending on all sorts of things that you either don't want to be aware of or need to be aware of to help kind of curb for your budget? And that all in one convenience is the best part. I mean, it's got your finances, your spending, and you can track and put together long-term goals too. It really is multiple apps all in one convenient place. And if you're looking to manage it with your significant other, it's super easy to do. Multiple accounts, all different things, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and they'll give you 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB, and they'll give you half off your first year.
Locked On Twins has returned, and we've got sort of dueling stories going on about what is happening with the Twins sale. The Pohlads put the team up for sale about 7.5 months ago, and it seemed like, at least as far as the reporting went, that by opening day this year, 2025, a deal would be in place. And as we know, it's not in place. And as far as we know, it's not going to be in place tomorrow or necessarily anytime soon. Although there's a funny line in Dan Hayes' story in The Athletic that says a winning bid could materialize at any time. So could Santa Claus.
Or an AR-15 outside the ballpark.
Or an AR-15. The AR-15 might materialize if the winning bid doesn't. So Watch out, people. I wanted to read a little bit from Phil Miller's story in the Minnesota Star-Tribune. Here's a quote. "The sale is a lot closer to the end than the beginning," which sounds like, people talking about their wasted lives. "I'm a lot closer to the end than the beginning, Brandon, let me tell you that. Several parties have shown interest in making an offer. Well, why don't you just make it?" One such source said, and the process is now in the latter stages, sort of like cancer, of due diligence and fact gathering. So the Pohlad family, which has owned the team since Carl Pohlad purchased it from Calvin Griffith for $44 million in 1984. So approximately for like the cost of Rich Hill at his prime, you could buy the Twins at
1/10 of their existing debt. Is that what it was, or what's their existing debt?
Yeah, that's right. It's in the $400 million range. Yes.
Yeah.
Half
a Juan Soto.
Yes, half a Juan Soto. Potential buyers of the franchise have visited Minneapolis over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Hey, get a load of those guns. To tour Target Field and meet with the Pohlad family and team executives, a sign that progress is being made toward a sale, according to multiple sources with knowledge of the process. So, it's and basically the theme of Phil Miller's story is, well, the team has done much better on the field lately and has shown a winning attitude and possibilities. And now ownership is the Pohlads are doing the same by giving tours to these prospective owners. And some of them potentially are from the Twin Cities. I don't know if that's important to you or not, being a resident, that the person is from the Twin Cities, or we've talked about this before. Would rather have an Ishbia or a Toshiba brother that is trying to win and trying to create an environment of sexual harassment, or are you interested more in just having someone local there? So at this point, I think fans would take anybody to buy the team for the Pohlads. It doesn't matter who it is or where they're from or how much they pay or what the debt service is.
It's an extremely low bar to clear at this point. And I don't know that people care that much about Minnesota-based. And even if it was someone not Minnesota-based, you can quell those concerns pretty easily by just involving Joe Mauer on the ownership group. So, I mean, it just will come down to, is there someone who will manage own this team in a manner that's more fan friendly than the Pohlads have? And again, that's that shouldn't be a hard bar to clear, to say the least.
I don't know. I obviously in the middle of a season, we're not going to hear too much more about what's going on as far as the major league negotiations. Every once in a while they'll check in, like around the All-Star game, they'll check in with Tony Clark and Rob Manfred about what's going on as far as what those guys want and what the prognosis is. I just don't know. I think when it comes to, I worry about factors like that. And well, if Trump is president instead of Biden, and what's going to happen to the stock market, and what does that have to do? How does that affect people? Being willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars? It doesn't seem to affect it at all. It's people aren't worried. They don't think, well, we're going to go into a recession, so I don't want to buy a Major League Baseball team. I think people with this amount of money don't necessarily think in those terms. They think sort of above them.
It's FU money.
Well, that's not going to harm me.
Yeah, it's FU money. I mean, it's
right.
It is what it is.
But at the same time, I don't know if there's necessarily anything in particular to worry about. I mean, the last couple of times we've had like near work stoppages. In fact, they've lasted very small amounts of time. Or there was a threat for 48 hours, but they came together and worked on it. I don't know. I don't know if I trust Rob Manfred to do the right thing, actually. And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with like what he said about Pete Rose and the 1919 White Sox or anything. It just It seems like he is. I don't know that he wants a work stoppage to be on his watch to affect his legacy. Something that would kill a World Series or a season or half a season or anything like that. I think he's been commissioner long enough where he's going to have to worry about these things. How is he going to be remembered? And, he's already the guy that's going to let Pete Rose back in the Hall of Fame. Hooray for him. And we'll see if that bears fruit. But, I don't know if these guys really – Jerry Reinsdorf's 90 years old. I mean, why does he have to win a labor negotiation at this point? I mean, he doesn't. You'd think that he would be ready to retire and get out of the game. I don't know why he needs that kind of aggravation. So I don't know if I buy this whole business about there's a work stoppage looming. Christmas comes once a year too. A broken clock is right twice a day.
Not to be disrespectful, but he should be choosing between pudding and applesauce, not players and owners. Or himself and others. I think a lot of that's overblown too, the concerns of that, because fans have shown what is it called? A prodigal return to the game when it gets back. Like, fans have not shown the ability to stay away. And even when attendance is down, it's still, people want to own baseball teams because deep down they know as long as you run it even half competently, there's money in it. There's a reason why they keep seeing the valuations go up, 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 and up, no matter what, the talking heads will tell you about attendance and balance sheets and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I just want to see the end of it. And I think maybe that's the most common theme I've seen is, well, actually, no, the common theme is anyone but the Pohlads. Number 2, I just want it to be over with.
I'll be interested to see how long it stretches out and how close we get with the trade deadline. I mean, it's coming up soon. We're at the third point of the season, not the quarter pole or the third pole, but we're about 54 games into the season. So in another 6 weeks or so, the trades should start heating up in earnest, or at least in July. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Pohlads are going to be willing to, assuming the Twins continue to gain some ground on first place and be one of the playoff teams. Are they going to be in true buyer mode? Because there'll be things that the Twins will need, like every other contending team.
And they have the farm to do so. Like, candidly, they have enough prospects that they can make something happen.
They do. So it will be interesting to see, even if they are not interested in adding more payroll, that maybe they'll do it just because it will look good for the sale. It'll get fans excited coming out to the ballpark. They want that end to look good. It's not like they want to go on an austerity program and then have the team lose and have no one continue to go to games, although attendance was up in the last series. They want to have people watching on TV at home. Mm-hmm. There's lots of reasons for the Pohlads to remain invested in the team, invested in in their success, and not just kind of a holding pattern until they sell it.
This isn't I put in my 2 weeks, let's run out the clock situation.
No, that's for you and me. That's for people at our level. So speaking of people at our level, we're going to do another break. And then when we return, we'll talk a little more Twins baseball. Boom, boom. So other than his really good pitching, his great results, Joe Ryan, my favorite thing about Joe Ryan starts is all the little quirky stuff that he does. And it seems like the cameras on Twins TV have taken a closer look at him lately. And I don't know if he's doing more stuff, but, for example, somebody will hit a long fly ball to center field and he'll drop his glove or whatever and go, oh. And then they'll catch the ball and he'll clap. It's like, yay. He's got these little mannerisms, these little emotional tics and physical manifestations of his personality going on, and it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a lot more fun when they're winning and when he's winning. So as long as that continues, hooray! But he is reminding me a lot of Mark Fidrych, who was famous. This is now 50 years ago with the Tigers. When he was a rookie, he came up and he was really good, but he was also the quirkiest guy like ever in the history of baseball. He would do things like he'd go to the mound and he wouldn't make a sandcastle, but he would like pet the mound and pat it and make sure it was okay. And he would talk to the ball as if it was going to answer back. And he would do lots of other things. And Joe Ryan, I don't know if I've asked him if he knows who Mark Fidrych is, but he reminds me a lot of Mark Fidrych, going through all the mannerisms and all the quirky things. And it's just a lot of fun. And you get the same kind of kick out of Joe Ryan that I do.
What I see is that sly/wry smile that reminds me a little bit of the Guy Fawkes, the V for Vendetta mask. He kind of reminds me of that, and he above all just seems to be enjoying being out there, and I think that's what I take away from it. The dropping of the glove to me is the best one, but there's a reason why there are so many people who are just delighted by anything you post about him, whether it's a quick, not GIF, but a video or a picture of him elicits likes and retweets. Twins fans love him, and I'm glad to see it because he's been tremendous this year. Is it LaTroy Hawkins who's been campaigning for him to be an all-star? I think maybe Justin Morneau said the same. And it feels as though this might be the chance for that. And so his quirks can be put on a little more national stage. I don't know. He's been an absolute delight to watch. I don't want to say on and off the mound, but with the baseball and without the baseball in his hand, maybe would be a better way to put it. And right now he's their best pitcher. And I don't think it's particularly close.
He's been good off the field too. In his interviews, he's I guess he's been a guy. He's a guy who'll go on the water in a boat. And he was talking about the wind at Kauffman Stadium in his first start of the season there, and not his first start of the season, but when they visited the Royals a few weeks ago, and he's like, oh, you could feel the wind in your hair, and I'm a sailor, and whoosh, and it's like the little 10-year-old boy was coming out in him. He was just absolutely hysterical. If Mark Fidrych is too old of a reference, he reminds me of Juan Soto too. Juan Soto's a guy with his mannerisms at the plate and that Soto slide and things that actually have been missing this year. I've seen people complain about how Juan Soto isn't he's not hitting as well as they want him to, or he can, and he's also not doing that stuff at home plate that he was, that joie de vivre, the love of the game. And I think Joe Ryan is kind of, I don't think Joe Ryan has noticed that at all about Juan Soto, but I think if there's like a spiritual thing happening, that whatever was inhabiting Juan Soto is over on Joe Ryan right now.
Another pitcher I think of more recently, but not that much more recently, was Turk Wendell, who was very quirky too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Joe Ryan necessarily eats mouthfuls of, was it black licorice, and then brushes his teeth between innings.
Yeah.
Certainly as a reliever, there's no real reason to brush your teeth between innings or anything, because you're only in there for one inning these days. But I love seeing the personality. And one thing I like is that the Twins haven't beaten it out of him. There are organizations I think that would have been more along the lines of like, okay, button it up, and I think that, maybe that's the Rocco influence. Can you imagine a manager better suited for him? Rocco's a big fan of Fish, and I get like a Grateful Dead vibe from Joe. So I think that they're suited for each other quite nicely, even though people will say, oh, well, he takes him out of the game early and this and that and whatever. I think the only manager I could imagine that would have probably vibed with him as well would have been Joe Madden, t-shirts and right on, bro, like that sort of thing. I think that would have been a good manager for him too. And I don't think it's coincidental that Rocco is an apple off the Joe Madden tree.
Also in that Charlie Walters column, he really cannibalized some really good ideas for stories. He mentions Rocco Baldelli and how he had 3 managers in his career, and they were Lou Piniella and Joe Madden and Terry Francona. And those are incredible influences. And they're all really different. But I think you're right about Joe Madden being Baldelli is an extension of Madden's style and his sensibilities and what he thinks is important in a clubhouse and a team and that kind of thing. I think you can see it more. You can see the connection there with those two guys. Then, although you can see Lou Piniella too, because when Rocco gets upset, he can swear an amazing amount and in a really kind of mean sort of way.
But he only plays that card. He plays it judiciously. It's like when the comparison I would make is the Como Zoo had a carnival outside it and nobody was ever there. But when the fair comes to town once a year, it's packed. When it's there every day, nobody goes. When you use your swearing judiciously in moments where it calls for it, as opposed to just lighting someone up every single time something goes slightly wrong, that's when people start to tune it out. If you're genuine and true to your own self and use it when it feels right, people will see through the facade of fakeness. And that's too where, fans lack the emotional regulation to not just throw crap every time something goes slightly wrong. I think Rocco does a great job of the emotions when necessary. Like the way he went crazy after the Gary Sanchez Whit Merrifield thing. Whit Merrifield was definitely out, by the way. I think he's genuine in his interactions, and that comes through even if fans don't appreciate it because he's not as fired up and accountable as they would like.
Speaking of the Joe Madden tree and how managers are alike, do you find that this series with the Rays so far has been a case of the Twins sort of playing another version of themselves? I noticed that some of the stats are similar in terms of where they rank it offensively and pitching wise. And it's, we don't want to put too fine a point on that, but the Rays have been very aggressive on the bases, like kind of ridiculously so. And it reminds me of what's that?
Yeah, their second most steals through 54 games in team history. Now they've played more than that, but coming into the series, the only year they had more was 2009 under Joe Madden.
Right.
And so offensively, I compared in my notes against starting pitchers, virtually identical, like right on down to average, OBP, slugging, strikeout rate, walk rate, exit velocity against starters, all virtually identical. These are very similar teams constructed differently, but they get to the same place, which is interesting to me.
And I think they try a lot of the same things. I mean, we've talked before about how super aggressive the Twins are sending runners from third, whether it's on a contact play or something in the
I don't like it.
something in the gap. They're going to send them. And
Yep.
it burned the Rays yesterday on that attempted double steal, because you don't do that on Carlos Correa's watch.
What a throw by Correa, and the throw by Lee to finish the double play that had to be challenged. I mean, Brooks Lee looked not Correa-esque. Nobody's Correa-esque, and Correa kind of showed that himself. But just a special play by Correa to get the runner, and he did it from like, I want to say it was a pretty weird arm angle too. It wasn't exactly Dan Quisenberry or anything, but it was.
I had to watch the double play like 4 times, and I'm still not sure what happened. There was Correa's initial flip was, I don't know if it was like a ad-libbed or he was doing it on purpose, but Correa always tries to get more on the ball than I think like the typical shortstop does in a throw. And his flip to Lee was like, I don't know. I've watched it a bunch of times. It was very strange.
2 things. I wonder if he didn't try to put it in a place where he thought Lee could field and fire.
Yeah.
That, 4D chess. And I have no idea how they initially called the runner safe. He was out by a fairly healthy margin. I didn't really understand that either. But
I'm always surprised when umpires get the call at first wrong, because so many times I'll see a play at first and I'll be like, did they get that right? And then you see the replay and they did. And like 99.9% of the time out of 100. That one was a rare bad miss by the umpires at first base. They shouldn't do that. That's bad. Be better. No, but they usually are. And Carlos Correa, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but since April 24th or so, he's hitting like 315.
About a month.
He doesn't have a lot of power, but he's obviously sort of gone Byron Buxton with his at bats. He doesn't walk, and he's not hitting for a lot of power, but it's working well enough. His slash numbers are pretty good. He doesn't have a lot of isolated power, but it's still pretty good.
It's like Gardy used to say, can't walk your way out of a slump.
Right. Or off the island, but whatever that means at this point. So, hey, we want to thank you, the listener and the viewer, for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts like this one. So we've got another one in the bank. So for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown, but not in the bank like the escrow, like they've sold something. Not like that.
Yeah.
In the bank. Anyway,
True.
Brandon Warren,
Hi.
Dave Brown,
Bye.
Casilla, Alexei tomorrow night.